To be an egoist is necessarily to be anti-abortion, because to be instrumentally involved in an abortion is necessarily and unavoidably self-destructive. By definition, anti-egoistic. This observation did not come to me easily. Actually, it did, once I knew the right way to think about things. Kathleen and I have been, or had been, wrestling with the question of abortion since we knew each other. We met in 1998, and so through the spring of 2012, we had been wrestling with abortion for 14 years and not really making a lot of progress. I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't have any understanding of a rational, defensible proof for getting there until I wrote Man Alive, until I wrote Chapter 7 in particular of Man Alive, defending the argument of the number line, the metaphor of the number line as a way of understanding moral philosophy, an utterly simple, unbelievably simple metaphor for understanding the future, enduring, long-term, lifelong mental and emotional consequences of your moral choices in the instant moment. The choice that you're considering now, what will be its consequences 50 years from now? How will your view of yourself, of your life, of your time on earth, of your relationships, of your overall image of yourself, how will that have changed as a result of the choice that you're making right now? It's an unbelievably simple metaphor, and it is, in my opinion, immeasurably productive of moral virtue, because it imposes a lens on your thinking. It forces you to take the long view on your choices, out of the conscious recognition that your choices will have long-term consequences regardless of what you might hope for, wish for, dream of. So when I finished Man Alive, my friend Richard Riccelli said, just in passing, what's your take on abortion? Wrestling with it for 14 years with Kathleen, wrestling with it for dozens of years before that on my own and with other people. And poof, there it was. Abortion is self-destructive. Abortion is morally indefensible because it is self-destructive to the actor. To be instrumentally involved in an abortion is necessarily and unavoidably self-destructive, destructive to the ego of the actor. Self-destructive in Chapter 7 terms. And yes, it's terminally destructive of the baby's life. His ultimate conscious experience of life as a human being consists of a few seconds of utterly excruciating pain. You may wonder why this is self-destructive to the actor. Yes, it is terribly destructive of the child's interests. It is permanently and consequentially destructive of mom, definitely, dad, most probably, mom's parents and dad's parents, 6 people, typically, who are going to be permanently and consequentially damaged by this. The people who are actually pursuing doing this evil deed, but they've got many, many crimes to account for, not simply this one. There may be other people who have enduring, ongoing regrets, but to be instrumentally involved in an abortion is to engage in an act of self-destruction that will have permanent, enduring, unhappy consequences, invariably, unavoidably, inescapably. This is philosophy in action. This is what philosophy is for, and this is how it's done. And so we've gone a year and some few days since the release of the first of the Planned Parenthood videos. We had, I think, a total of 13 of these gruesome videos in all. I never watched any of them. I did not watch them. I know in brief summary what's in them, but it's in brief summary, and I don't need to know more detail. I don't want to know more detail. But in that year and a few days, to my knowledge, I'm the only libertarian philosopher who has come anywhere near the Planned Parenthood videos, either for or against. The conservatives, the Christians, You can count on them, on some of them in any case, to have come out against Planned Parenthood, against this gruesome exploitation, this baby mining babies for parts. I can only recall one article in more or less mainstream libertarian publication, Reason Magazine Online, almost immediately after the first of the Planned Parenthood videos, published an article on the utilitarianism of baby mining, that it saves money here and saves lives there and cuts costs here and super efficient, and the usual Nazi industrial video treatment for mining babies for their parts. And so the obvious article to follow that one up would be talking about using baby parts as food, that deboned baby limbs are even more nutritious than chicken fingers, and the carbon tax has already been paid. Utilitarianism is invariably Marxism when push comes to shove, and Reason Magazine was gracious enough to show us how gruesome and how Marxist so-called libertarian thinkers can be when they're being thoughtless about what actually matters. Libertarianism is not necessarily egoism, and I guess that would be the complaint that people would make. Individualism is the politics of egoism. Libertarianism can be a form of individualism, but plausibly it can be something else also. I don't know, and I don't care. Big name libertarians, Reason Magazine, the Ayn Rand Institute, all of the Bigfoot libertarian types who presume to speak for the libertarian movement have been shamefully silent on the Planned Parenthood videos, have been shamefully silent on the subject of abortion since July 14th, 2015, when the first of the Planned Parenthood videos came out. And I consider that evasion unacceptable. My position is obviously the correct one. There is no reasonable, rational defense for abortion in any form whatever. Certainly there is no argument to be made that abortion could ever be considered to be a part of egoism, of rational self-interest as a moral philosophy. But the people who presume to speak on the subject of rational self-interest as a moral philosophy have evaded this topic entirely, and that is unacceptable. And so if you're watching this video, I encourage you to pass it along to the big-name libertarians that you know and demand that they take a stand on the subject. If they want to continue to defend Ayn Rand's ridiculously childish utilitarian argument for abortion, if they want to continue to defend Murray Rothbard's file off the serial numbers cribbing of Ayn Rand's argument for abortion, if they want to continue to defend abortion, then let them take a stand now, after we've seen what we've become in the process of killing 55 million innocent children, what we've become in the way that we go about this gruesome business of exploiting our own offspring for profit. Let them take that stand. But if they've seen better, then let them tell the world that too. Let's relieve our children of this awful burden that we put on them, insisting to them that they have to kill their own children. This will continue, I'm sure. That's the other argument that people will invariably make, is that no matter what you say about abortion, it will continue. I'm sure that's so. But there's more and there's less, and there's greater and there's lesser, and there's better and there's worse. And if we're becoming better as people, there will be fewer abortions as time goes by. And if we become more supportive of fatherhood and of family, there will be fewer abortions as time goes by. And if we refuse to countenance evil, there will be less evil on earth as time goes by. And it's time for the people who presume to speak for the libertarian movement to renounce their past evil and stand up for the good of human life. You're a year late already. You're 10 years late, you're 20 years late, you're 50 years late. You're late. But better late than never. Get on it now. Show people the right way to pursue human values. This is the Church of Splendor. You better believe this is a church. My name is Greg Swan. I'm delighted to talk to you. We'll get together again next week.